Welcome back to the roundtable. Of course, I'm your coach, I'm your host, Jim Hicks. And of course, now let me introduce you to the panel that we have tonight on the roundtable in this sneaker war segment. And of course, right to my left, Stacey Houston. We have Marlon Lowe. We have Rick Nelson. Rick the Ruler is back. And of course, we have Craig Roberts. He's from Dallas by way of Houston, Cashmere High School, class of 1985 will be Craig. Now, we're gonna get right into this thing. We're not going to cut the burger in half. It ain't a toothpick in it. Tell me this, let's be honest, straight up. Does having a shoe deal or playing for a sneaker team really help the programs and the players?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
How?
More exposure. When you have a shoe deal, you tend EYBL is a prime example. The year the Harrison twins graduated, what, 2013? 22 of the 26 McDonald All-Americans played in Nike EYBL. The only 4 were the Harrison twins and Casey Hill and Chris Walker with the Florida Rain. The only exception, Adidas. 2 Adidas kids, 2 Under Armour kids. The other 22 kids were Nike EYBL kids.
Speaking of that, now first and foremost, who on the panel have coached at McDonald America? Been on the sideline. So of course, who you had? Tell us who you.
McDonald America?
Yeah.
Keith Frazier.
Keith Frazier.
Gerald Green.
Say it a little louder.
Gerald Green. Most recently was Isaiah Austin out of my program, but I coached Rasheed Suleiman as well. I coached Rasheed Suleiman.
Keith Frazier for 2 years. He's found 2 years of high school.
And I coached Keith Frazier.
So y'all both
Kind of got wild.
yeah, that's it.
Let me clear it up so everybody understands. Keith Frazier was put on the map with this gentleman sitting to my left. He played with Marlon as a freshman. Going into his freshman year, they put him on the map. I got Keith at the end of his sophomore summer, and his junior summer, I allowed him to come to Houston as well and play again with the Houston Hoops. So technically, Marlon Lowe and Stacey Houston coached Keith Frazier at the time of when he started getting in the realms of being a McDonald's All-American. But we can go as far as say he played at Dallas Showtime when he was younger. A lot of guys had something to do with it, but I put most of Keith's, putting him out there with Marlon Lowe, because that's where he started. He coached him as a freshman.
Okay, now, speaking with you, Stacey. So with that being said, if you don't have a sneaker deal, then players can't get into the McDonald American game or can't get into the Jordan Brand Classic or the Derby Classic.
I think that, since you're directing the question to me, I think the biggest thing about guys having those opportunities, I call it extra. When you play for a shoe company, a Nike or Adidas or one of those guys, you have other people outside of yourself that's pushing that kid. If Nike feels like that kid is one of the special kids, then they're pushing that kid. They're saying, hey, watch Keith Frazier, watch this kid, or watch that kid. When Keith played with me, when he came to play with me, what he had to do is to show consistency and improve. He was already out there because he played with Nike. They already knew who he was. When he came to me, he was the top 9 player in the country. So all I had to do was keep him improving, keep him getting better, you know, and it was it. But had he not played with Marlon them as a freshman on a 17 and under level and had some success due to good coaching and being in that spotlight, Keith Frazier might not have been Keith Frazier. It may have took him a longer term to get there.
I want to go back and I want to dissect the question. The question was, is it easier? The answer to that is yes. It is easier. It's an easier route when you were a shoe company team because they provide more opportunity. Okay, it's better access to certain things. All right, whether you're a good coach, you just happen to have a good deal, whether your son is the greatest player in the country, you know, but Can a person on a non-shoe team get exposure? Yes, but it all depends on who you are, who you know. Relationships. It all goes back to relationship. Can you put this kid in the right stage? Can you be in the right tournament? Can you call Jimmy Hicks and say, hey Jimmy, I'm coming in town and Jimmy's gonna put you on the right floor? Can you come to my tournament Pearland and say, hey Rick, I'm coming, can you make sure I'm on court too? Can you call Mike Kustak? Can you pick up the phone and call guys and put kids in position? That's important because you can have a shoe deal and you're gonna get on those courts because you quote unquote you part of the deal, you know. But if you're not strong in the game and you don't have a voice and people don't respect you, it really matter because you might push one or two kids. All right, you might push the best kid on your team, and the other kids are gonna suffer. Okay, so is it easier? Yes. Does it say, well, no, I can't, if I don't play for a shoe team, then I'm not gonna get. That's not true. Curry Rose plays for Rock Stars.
Is he gonna play? It's gonna be hard for him to be at McDonald's.
Okay, now that's another question. The question is not.
I agree with you. I agree with you. That's another question.
That's another question. If Jimmy says, hey, if you play for a shoe team, is it easier to be a part of a game? Is it easier to be a McDonald's All-American or whatever the case may be? Yes. Is it harder? Yes, it's harder to be in those situations when you're not part or in alliance with those shoe companies. Now, here's what I say. Miss Stacey had this conversation a couple weeks ago. At some point, you have to make a decision and find out what's important to you. At the end of the day, we do this for one reason. That's to get our kid the maximum exposure and put them in a position where they can get a Division I, Division II, whatever it is, scholarship,
the
best choices, the best choices and opportunity. Now, if making the McDonald's All-American game, going to the Jordan game, going to all these different camps, if that's not all that important to you, hey, you're a renewed shoe.
No doubt.
Now, but if you want to maximize and be able to say, you know what, I want this kid to be able to take advantage of everything that's before him, everything that he qualified for. Yeah, whatever he qualified for, I want him to take advantage of.
I call it the extras.
The extras.
You want the extras.
You need to play for
if you want the extras, it would be good because the goal is for any AAU coach director that runs a program, the goal is to get as many kids as possible an opportunity to better their lives. Well, how do you better your life? You try to get a degree, and then if you can get a degree, and the avenue of most
of them
young inner city kids,
most of them inner city kids ain't studying about no degree in the
You're right. You're right. But if you are about the kid,
you're gonna teach them.
You're going to teach them. And I'm gonna let Marlon. I'm gonna let him speak. 'Cause I know he has something to say. I'm gonna let him speak. But I'll come back to you and I'll tell you how I run my program. And because I don't have those top level guys. I don't go out and recruit those guys. I have a tryout. They show up, and we go to work. You know, and there's a reason why I chose to do it that way. You know what I'm saying? Because my goal is to make sure those guys get an opportunity to play in the league. Because you know better than anybody, Mr. Hicks, the chances on you being a pro are slim to none. They slim to none. Okay?
Well, that's probably
okay. All right.
Well, the thing about I wanted to say about this, and I wanted to go back to one of the very first questions we talked about as far as McDonald's All-Americans. Because I've actually coached 4 within the last 3 years. And the unfortunate part about it is only one of them is from Houston. Rashid Suleiman. Okay? Keith Frazier from Dallas. Isaiah Austin from Dallas. And then I left out Emmanuel Mudiay.
Yep.
From Dallas. Huh? Jay who? Oh, hey, Jay Lucas was in 2000 as well. So I got Jay, I'm just thinking about them in the last 4 years. But Jay Lucas. So that's 5 that I've coached within the since 2000. But the unfortunate part about it, again, that's still 2 from Houston, 3 from Dallas, which is okay. I'm fine with that. I just have an issue. The thing that bothers me with that is we try to get more kids from Houston to try to understand what this thing is about. But unfortunately, in order for me to be able to help the way I really want to help, Seems like people from Dallas understand. They get it a little bit better, probably sometime than local people. It's unfortunate.
Well, it's kind of like, I think we're scared to educate our parents. I educate my parents on what it is. Like any kid, whether you with my program or you're not with my program, they understand the business of this. Don't think for a minute that you're just one of the best players in the country. This is a business. Yeah, you have fun, but understand that somebody's trying to get a shoe deal off of you. Somebody's trying to do this off of you, trying to get a job off of you. Understand what it is. So educating parents is important. It's kind of like kids at home. If you don't educate, Mama used to always say, you don't educate them at the house, they're going to learn on the streets. If you educate them, then they know what it is.
Now, see, the more you keep talking about education, this is a good thing for me because this tells you how McDonald's it don't just stay in my head.
Of course, that's right.
But you know what? Yeah. I forgot. Forgive me. I coached Tommy Mason Griffin and Tiny Gallon.
I was gonna say you missing. I was gonna correct you. You missing 2.
So I think I got like 7 right there within the last 7, 8 years.
10 years.
But it was 7, probably more than any other, probably organization. But at the same time, you're right.
How long you been in the business though?
Been in the business be 18.
How long you been in the business? How long you been in the business?
Since 95.
Now give me a number.
95, do the math. I don't forget. I've been doing it a long time.
19.
95.
How long you been in the business, Jim?
14.
I've been in the business for 15 years, 16 years. Look at this experience that we have here, where we've seen what I call new jacks now. We got the new jacks, and they doing it the new way. I just still believe the old way work. I come in in the Son of the Carrier. Son of the Carrier brought me in. Son of the Carrier was the one that called me on the phone and said, "Can you do this business?" And that's how I got in. I didn't get in from a guy here in Houston. I got in from the late Mac Irvin. Mac Irvin was the one that called Son and said, "Rick Nelson is the guy you deal with." And though through them point you build relationships, as me and you talked about a couple days ago, it's about relationships. And then when you build a relationship, that's how you stay in the business long. Whether you have a shoe deal or don't have a shoe deal, if dudes are dealing with you, they dealing with you. Regardless if you have a shoe deal or not. If they real, they real.
Well, I think a lot of people have maybe a misconception, or maybe it's never been clearly defined of what people feel like relationships are. To me, everybody's relationship, love means something different to everybody.
Oh yeah.
But when you start talking about relationships, relationship is about making sure that whoever you're in a relationship with, you try to make their life better.
Right.
You try to make their life easier. You know what I mean? So with us, all our communication, we communicate with each other, we go against each other, we communicate with each other to try to make things a bit easier for you as long as you ain't stepping in my lane.
Yeah, I think it's about respect too. And back to the main question, those guys that have shoe deals, they automatically get a respect. It's automatic. It's like automatic. That they are. That's where you need to be. But I'm a prime example of, and guys have said this. We go back to Keith. When Keith played with the Hoops, guys said he didn't look like he was a McDonald's All-American until he came and played with me. Because when he played with me, he know that our team needed more. So he was more aggressive. He passed the ball. He rebounded. He did a lot of more things. So sometimes being in that, kids even think it's guaranteed. And so they slow down. They lose the drive. They lose that love to try to get it because I'm with Nike. Coach Marlon can just pick up the phone and call this guy and get me in. That's not the case. And parents get it mixed up all the time.
And that brings us back to the original question. Is it easier? The answer is yes. Because guys like Jimmy Hicks are going to be where the players are at. He's going to be on the floor. Hold on, Rick.
It's easier, but it's not guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed. The question said, is it easier?
Yes.
The answer is yes. It is easier.
We can move on to another question. That's an easy answer.
Okay.
That's we
can get into some details.
Yeah, that's easy.
But what I say is easier, that means that you talk about exposure. Like you said, you got 4 courts in the gym. What Jimmy gonna be? Jimmy gonna know what everything that happened on court 1 through 4. Now what happened on 8 and 10, he gonna get off Twitter.
Prime example. The first time you
don't do it like that. If somebody to tell him he got somebody, he don't go watch it. Don't be ready, Mr. Hicks.
Let me make it clear. When I say that, he just saw on Twitter that such scored 25.8 rebounds.
But he's not gonna report that.
Oh, he not because he didn't see it. So
Exactly.
what happened here, the daddy just called me and said, you didn't see my baby play.
That don't count.
I'm gonna tell him keep winning. I catch him.
Did I catch him on Sunday?
You gonna catch on Sunday when you don't what?
Call what? Hey, prime example. First time in the spring, the icebreaker here in Houston,
I was here.
and the test of water in Ennis.
I missed test the water.
The guys that run test of water want to know why y'all running to Houston. Well, he got ESPN.
Well, call names out. Reggie Rankin. Call names out.
I mean, all them dudes gonna be there. We don't want to come play against in front of you, and only you.
Right.
So we want to Houston. I mean, it's exposure. You're giving your kids an opportunity. We all trying to put our kids in the best position possible.
Well, let me pose a question, Mr. Hicks.
Everybody does not do what you
Let me pose a question.
We are. Not everybody. We are.
Let me pose a question.
Even some parents don't do that. Let's keep that one.
Let me pose a question,
Even some
Mr. Hicks.
parents don't do that.
Maybe that's because they don't know.
Let's pose a question, Mr. Hicks. Mr. Hicks.
You know you got
Would you put a team on your main floor that is not a shoe team?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I mean, in my situation, because it's more hours. It's not like it's different if you have an event that's stacked with nothing but shooting. They only can play 1 hour at one given time, and they have to have an opponent. So if that team has a player on that, you see,
The other teams
sometimes it's about players. I mean, about teams and about players. With the team, the sneaker team is not so much of an emphasis of winning as the people that don't have the sneaker deals may understand. So they don't really give a who the
Watch this.
is.
Now I call you. You don't know who I got on my team, but we have a relationship. So I called you, say, Mr. Hicks, I'm coming to the ice break. You never once asked me who I had on my team.
But because of who you are.
Hold on.
But that,
And that's why I say to this question, it's not a yes or no question. That question can't be a yes or no because yes, I got a shoe deal, but I don't have a Marlon Lowe Nike shoe deal or a Reggie Rankin shoe deal. I have a relationship with Mr. Hicks that knows I put good product on the floor, so I have to have something.
And another thing is that when you're a shoe team, most guys that have a shoe deal got somebody.
Not all the time.
Sometimes they got at least one.
Half a player.
I can tell you.
Somewhere.
I can tell you this year. I can call out two groups this year. They didn't have nothing, but they had a deal.
Okay, we don't put them on blast like that.
Next question. Next question.
You got half player. And when you got, this is what I'm saying. For those teams, for those shoe teams that have a player, sometimes you don't even have to put them on the main floor because people always want to watch.
Right, gonna go to
Right. So you can put them outside in Gregory Park, somewhere, and if you tell us where they at, Jimmy, you can have us in Summer Creek, they're gonna drive wherever it is to get over there.
Because your reputation precedes
Right.
you.
Now,
Your
back to
reputation
what
will
you
be
just said about relationship, I remember years ago when I was running the tournament and OJ Mayo when they was coming in town, all these guys bringing all these guys in, and the guy pulled me to the side. He said, Rick, I come to your tournament every year. I ain't never been on the main floor. I support you every year. I've never been on the main floor. I'm coming regardless
Regardless of
what's going on. This guy ain't coming back no more. What OJ Mayo done, they ain't coming back. You gotta, he said, you know just what he said. I put the bill
for them.
for them to come. And right there, that stuck with me for years and years and years. So you gotta spread the wealth.
Gotta spread.
You know what I'm saying? Because everybody comes to your tournament for the same reason, exposure. And when you're only doing it for just certain teams, then nobody really won't come. Everybody got to share. Everybody got to be an opportunity to play on certain courts.
But them you gonna get the opportunity to play on that main court if we got enough space slots left over.
Well, understand? No, but
you ain't gonna get the floor every time. You keep killing us. You gonna get the floor for that extra slot.
I didn't say you weren't playing on this court.
I know you didn't.
There's another part to this question, though.
tell you exactly what my thoughts is on that as soon as we come back from this commercial break on the round table. You say, hey, I told you it's getting hot up in here. We need Nelly in this thing tonight. Welcome back to the round table. I'm your host, Jim Hicks, and as you can tell, we cooled out off a little bit. Cool front blew through up a little rain in Houston tonight. But guess what? It's still warm up in this place. And of course, on the panel, and from that side over there, we have Craig Roberts, Rick Nelson, Marlon Lowe, and of course, Stacy Houston. You know, after this show's over with, you won't know, you might call him Stacy Texas. You know, he's been getting in, he's all around. You see now, one thing about it, and you guys have learned that first segment was the relationships is basically the root of this whole thing. And I'm learning that, and so are you, hopefully. And so speaking of relationships, we're going to go a little deeper into that. And I'm going to throw a question out there and we'll get right to it, Coach Lowe. Relationship. Exactly how did you obtain your sneaker deal in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, before I joined the Houston Hoops, I had an organization called Team Houston. I started forming some, and then I stopped it. I was working in the gym, and I formed a relationship. I had a relationship with a lot of people from Nike then. During that time, they asked me what I was going to continue to do. They asked me if I was a pretty decent coach. They liked where I handled some talent and things like that. So it was brought to my attention that the Houston Hoops needed another coach. They asked me would I go work with the Hoops. At that point in time, I was skeptical because I'd always competed against the Hoops. But my friends who were in Nike then, we were family, we were good, had a good relationship, so it would help them. So that's what I did, and I never had an issue with Hal at all, still don't. So Hal welcomed me aboard, so I went in and worked with the Hoops. Hal and I had an agreement at hand anyway that would probably go about 3 years, because that's how you usually do it at the time, and he would bring in a new coach and things of that nature. But he told me that I could stay if I wanted, but at the time, they were still talking about there was so much talent around here that they would bring in another, possibly bring another Nike team within the city of Houston. So with that being said, that's when I left the Hoops, and because our relationship that I had previously before I joined the Hoops and who asked me to get in, that's kind of what helped me get my foot into the door.
And then you proceeded for a 2-year span, and then your package was kind of restricted this last summer. Mm-hmm. And so now how did that feel?
Well, for the first 2 years of the EYBL, I had my EYBL bid, and then I got it. My EYBL bid was taken away last year. So a lot of things that happened for that to occur. I'm still a part of the Nike family. We're still good, still with Nike basketball. I had to take a year off to make sure that, which was good for me in hindsight, because by me taking that year off, it helped me to get my program back to the expectations that we expect that Nike would want it to be at, to the level that Nike would want it to be at. So with that year that I took off, it actually helped. It helped me to refocus, regroup, and understand what I needed to do, and to make sure that my program is back to being elite and in regards to how Nike expects their brand to be.
So you're saying you're still up under the umbrella. So now what happens moving forward? There's a new administration, a new head in regard to the grassroots sector now. Mm-hmm. Of course, Merle has resigned, Merle Cole. So now Carlton is the new. Is out, he was an assistant, or he was co-worker with Merle this past. So what does it look like for Texas Pro in 2015?
We haven't had those discussions yet, but I'm an optimistic person. One thing I can say is this: I feel like we have the best team coming back than anybody else in the state of Texas.
Everybody in every state says that.
You know what?
In September.
I'll tell you
You
what.
said in Houston or the state?
Houston and the state.
Oh, the state.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make it clear.
I said the state.
Okay, he said the
I feel
state.
like we have the best. And it's okay what people say. If you know me, you know I don't talk a whole lot about what I have. I don't brag about anything, and I'm okay, but I'm comfortable with who we have. Just like this year, we weren't in the EYBL, but we beat teams that was in the EYBL by double figures several times, and we only had 3 juniors last year. So regardless of what we do, I feel like we'll be okay. I believe that we'll still be a part of the Nike family. We'll be back in the EYBL if that's an option, which I think it is. But we also have people have reached out to us about trying to do something else if there was a need.
That's what they said now. So it boiled down some relationship factor. Now, of course, Rick, you had 2 sneaker deals with 2 different sneaker companies, right? And what were they?
Started with Adidas. No, started with Reebok. Went to actually started with Adidas, went to Reebok, and back to Adidas. Back to Reebok.
Hold on. So, that's a name for people that's
what they call it. Shady.
Yeah, it's a party.
You know what? The thing about it is, I came into the game at the shoe level. Alright, when I started, I went straight to the shoe level. Came right in with Gerald. Alright, right at that level. As I said earlier, Mac Irvin, the late Mac Irvin was the one that called me and said, hey, Rick, man, I like what you do. You'll go get her. Your relationship with not only kids, but with parents, people trust you. We hear good things. I want to introduce you to Sonny. I'm telling Sonny about you. What people don't understand is, and when you hear the word pay your dues, you paid your dues. You paid your dues. So people don't know the time when the round ball, they don't remember the round ball classic. I've never seen a round ball game. Well, I was outside the United Center, passing out flyers. So people know about what the next game coming up, the next LeBron that's going to be shown. I was working the stadium. I was at the ABCD camp, and I was security. I'm not walking around having a good time.
Right.
I'm working, earning my keep, showing, saying, Rick's just not a shirt wearer. Rick just don't want a pair of shoes. He really in here grinding, trying to get it done. So at that time, Sonny and Chris Rivers, they like my work ethic. And so when we was at Adidas, and when Adidas went over to Reebok and Sonny left, he asked, Rick, you want to go to Reebok? I said, yeah.
Because that was your relationship.
That was my relationship with Sonny and Chris Rivers. So at the time when we went over to Reebok and then Sonny retired, Rivers took over, and Rivers went back to Adidas, then, because of my relationship with Chris Rivers, let's go back. Then when Rivers went over back to the NBA, and Pat took the job over at, with Reebok, Pat said, Rick, come on, I'm going over here, why don't you come with me? So it was easier because of my relationship, not because I was just grown or I didn't like what they was doing. I knew that they were going to give me the best opportunity, give me the best hand so I can go out here and do what I do as far as helping kids, putting them in a better situation, and my relationship with parents, getting them to be able to say, hey, we really trust Rick, we really like what he's doing. He's educating me on what the business is, so, you do what you got to do when the do what needs to be done.
In regards to your relationship comes your alliance. And with that being said, on your right leg right now, you just raise your right foot. Let me see, because you might be wearing 2 different shoes. Like 2 chains, you might be 2 shoes. Adidas, Reebok. What you wearing right now?
Right now,
what's on your feet?
Right now, I got on some Reeboks. All right.
I mean, they don't know. They can't see.
Right now, I got on my Reeboks. But if you go to my garage, I got a side over here with some Adidas. I got some. I got a side over here for the Reebok. I still got a pair of franchises. Stevie franchises up in there thing.
You got some of them old Jay-Z's?
I got some Sean Carter's up in there. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes every now I might be blessed enough to go over there to Mall Aloha and grab me a pair of Nikes.
What you got on for right now? What you sporting right now?
Got my Fridays on.
Fresh out the box.
Got my Fridays on.
Okay, we want to make sure we got.
They came in with the box. They might get the box in his hand. He
That's what it is. That's tight, right? So now, speaking of that, now that's a good topic. Okay, we just relationships. Okay, there are many summer coaches or summer programs that had sneaker deals just 2 years ago between Houston and Dallas that had collected a combined 12 sponsored sneaker programs between the two combined at the same time. Now, to me, what happened is just like anything with supply and demand. The market had got oversaturated. You had 6 sneaker teams in Houston, 6 sneaker teams in Dallas. Either they had official sponsorship for different levels of sponsorship, 6 in each one. This past summer in Houston, there were only, what, I think maybe 3 or 4 that was sponsored. Meaning that a lot of those guys have lost their deals. Now, as they lose those deals, how hard do you think that they'll ever get back? A guy like John Urie, you just mentioned his name earlier. John Urie lost his sneaker deal shortly after you left him up under his umbrella. Right? And so many people that's got on our side say, hey, you got the jackets in, and you bumped Urie you bumped him on out. Because you took Gerald Green with you, you got a sneaker deal. Urie hadn't recovered yet. How can Urie ever get a sneaker deal again? He's had a couple of, he's had Jimmy Butler.
I'm not from Houston. Can I answer that?
Yeah, sure.
Get the right player.
Well, I just said.
No, well, hold on. But if I'm not correct, again, I'm not from Houston. Jimmy Butler wasn't people didn't know that Jimmy Butler was going to be Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler
yeah, true that. I'm totally agree with that. You know, I hear it all the time. I understand. But if you listen to Urie at the time, he did have faith in it. Now, as far as evaluating and see it, I mean, it wasn't no thing because to me it was it's like he had ran that mule a little bit too.
He doesn't make the decision. It's still gonna go back to
relationship.
Hold on. And here's another thing. People gotta take you serious.
Urie is a
people gotta take you serious when you say what you say. Okay.
I don't even say they try to take you serious. They gotta believe.
They gotta believe what you say.
And I'll give you a good example. This year, we had a kid in our program, and everybody knows Ricky and I. He has Houston elite basketball. I have Dallas elite basketball. So we work together. So we have a kid in our program that we felt like was good enough to go to a certain camp, right? So we come, I got relationships with some guys with Nike, and so I said, I think he's good enough. So he said, man, you think so? I said, yeah, man, I think he's good enough. So I made a couple of calls and said, hey, come check this guy out. Because I had been right about other guys, the 2 guys with Nike said, well, let's listen to what Stacey talking about. Let's go check the guy out. They came down, they checked him out. They liked what they saw. He got in the camp. Well, we not Nike. So we had guys calling my relationships with Nike and saying, but how did he get in there? How did he do that? At the end of the day, if you can play, you can play. And it goes back to the relationships. Because you have the relationship to get that person's ear to listen to you and say, and they trust what you're saying, they take the time to come and watch that guy play. To answer the question about Urie, I believe when you do have a shoe deal, for example, use you for example, they may say, well, Marlon's down this year. He don't have those guys. They did Wes Grandstaff the same way. He shared his deal with the Titans. Then the Titans blew up, and so they gave the Titans their own deal, but they kept Wes in the loop until Austin and those guys became well enough to represent. And so by doing that, because you have a great relationship with those guys, they didn't shut the door. Team Florida did the same thing with those guys. And so, not to say Urie did anything bad, but if you got a good relationship with somebody, they're gonna always try to help you.
Right. So even with that, outside of Urie, somebody probably listening right now, they like, okay, well, I can get my own deal.
No, not really, because
I'm just saying,
it's like,
might be saying, I can get my own deal. I'm gonna feed it to you.
Not
I'm gonna feed it to you for you to talk about it. I'm saying somebody might be saying, I can get my own deal. If somebody want to do this and want to do that, how do I get my deal? I can get my deal some of these guys come and go, whoever's next, I can get in. Ain't that what somebody thinking? Somebody ask you all the time, don't they ask you all the time? How do I get a deal? Ain't you heard
Let me tell you, okay, listen. No, you got a deal based on a player. Let me tell you why I got a deal. Let me tell you how I got a deal.
Let him finish this part though.
Okay, and I'm gonna tell you how I got a deal. Because that's gonna answer the question with those people that think you can just go get a deal.
Okay, so let's get it. Go ahead.
It's not really that easy to give you. First of all, let's make this clear. Everybody figure out the most important thing. And let's not get it twisted, all right? Let's not get it twisted. It's about players. That's not BS about it. All right? Let's not even just sugarcoat this. And you know, everybody thinks they got to do. Okay? It'll always go back to relationship. And we kind of recycle guys. Because here's the deal.
What you mean recycle guys?
When I say, these guys have been in the business for a long time, he really kind of going on. It's kind of like, let's take Avery Johnson. Avery Johnson's been an NBA coach at the top. He didn't coach some bad teams, some good teams. But guess what?
Championship team.
The champion, you going back. He ain't out the loop.
Right.
All right. So when they need a head coach,
He just ain't coaching right now.
Right. He just ain't coaching right now. So when they need a good coach that fits this program, they're gonna say, "Hey, are you interested?" They're gonna bring it.
But when you say relationships, Rick, you gotta understand it's gotta be a good relationship.
Gotta be a good.
See, we just saying you
and
gotta have a
And
relationship.
here's another thing.
It's got a lot of good
You
relationships.
don't get a deal based on your player. Okay? Because understand this here. Shoe company, I'm gonna give it up. Shoe company is gonna ask Marlon, can you get him before I gotta go talk with him? Because if you can get him,
Go get him.
I don't have to talk to him. I don't have to deal with him. I'd rather deal with you because I got a relationship. I know what I get. I know what it is. All right? Now, I got a good friend of mine, been a friend of mine for as long as I've been in the business. All right? Key White. All right? Key White got a deal. Key White came to my house and asked me, said, man, tell me what's going on. How do we do this? And I looked Key in the face. I said, dude, if I can help you get a deal, I'm going to help you. Chris Rivers called me on the phone and said, Rick, I'll be honest with you. The deals won't Key White because they got Cameron Ridley. All right? His question was, can you work with Key White? Meaning, we'll give you the deal, but we want you to take care of him to do it. And I said, give him his own deal. He said, Rick, you know you're going to be the third wheel. We're going to take care of you, but you're going to be kind of the third wheel. I said, give me a deal. That's not my dude. It's not my program. I ain't did nothing. Give me a deal. Now, some people going to say you crazy, and maybe I better say
Some people going to say now, I can do the same thing. I'm going to keep my dude in. He going to be forced to get me a deal.
But I vouch for Key White because of my relationship with Key White.
But also, if your dude is not 7 foot, 265 pounds, no. If your dude is little Billy Miller, no.
Listen, I'll give you Rick and Marlon gonna be able to co-sign this. Keith Frazier, all right, was him and the Twins in the hottest thing in the state of Texas in 2013. All right, Keith called me up. Keith said, you know, Coach, you know, he did Adidas Nation the year before. Okay, with Adidas. And everybody knows this ain't no secret. I walk around, I'm Adidas dad. I'm Adidas dad. East Bay made a whole lot of money off Stacey Houston that year. Adidas ain't gave me nothing. I didn't ask them for nothing. They didn't offer nothing. So understand, parents and coaches, AAU coaches out there, even though you got a dude, if you don't have a relationship with them dudes, you're not gonna get a deal.
How do they get the relationship?
The problem is just like any other relationship.
That's what I would be thinking right now.
It's just like any other relationship. I got a relationship with Mr. Hicks simply because I introduced myself to him. We had some things in common. I picked his brain about some things. We started building a relationship. But those guys that give those deals, they not walking around the gym. They not walking around the gym so you can meet them. So the likelihood, like you said, Marlon, earlier, you had worked with some people that knew you were a good guy, that you had built a program. And so somebody said, man, that's a good dude in Houston. You know what I mean? You check that dude out. So somebody referred you to make them pay attention to you. And it's just like the lottery. You're not gonna win, everybody's gonna win the lottery.
And let me say,
You know what I'm saying? But hold on. And so even with Keith, even with that, Marlon, I ran into Marlon at a tournament. He wants Keith he talked to me about Keith playing. I said, man, I love Keith to play with you. Keith don't want to play with you. Did I not say that? I said, but I'll do what I can to get Keith to play with you. Keith felt comfortable with Hal. So he wanted to play with Hal.
After I left
Right.
the hoops.
After you left the hoops. He wanted it, and you had your own deal with Texas Pro. So Merle calls me, and Merle said, Stacey, you got Keith Frazier, you helped me make the decision what's going on with Keith Frazier. What would you like for him to play? I said, I would like for him to play with Marlon, but the kid don't want to play with Marlon. He wants to play with the hoops because he's comfortable with those guys. He knows a lot of those guys on the team. He wants to play with those guys. Merle ain't asked me nothing about what Stacey, you got the baddest dude. I got who at the time was the second baddest. They had Andrew and Keith. In my mind, I'm thinking, he gonna ask me, well, what is it gonna take for him to be a part of Nike? We gonna give you this, we gonna give you this, we gonna get, that never happened. Understand, people, that never happened. He never once asked, his thing was, can you get in with Marlon? He don't wanna play with Marlon, can you get in with the hoops?